Hey there. Over the past couple weeks, I've been talking about how weak the U.S. Congress has become. I've also probably spent less time than I should talking about the increasingly horrific crisis in Yemen. Today, I'd like to point out why these two issues are actually deeply, deeply linked. The world is filled with difficult problems. Yemen is not a difficult problem. Saudi Arabia is slowly strangling the country, endangering millions of lives, and the United States is helping them do it. If they wanted to, tomorrow morning, the United States government could stop this and possibly save tens of thousands or even millions of lives. Two presidents, one out of political calculation and one out of an inability to see the world complexly, signed us up and kept us in this project. It's not a subtle, easily hidden project. Real military assets, from intelligence to U.S. military refueling planes, are being used to send Saudi and UAE bombers to kill children. If we were fighting ISIS or Al-Qaeda here, I'd probably still be bitching about it, with little hope of actually changing the situation. But we are not fighting Al-Qaeda in Yemen. We are fighting Al-Qaeda's sworn enemies. There is no legal justification for this ongoing war. No declaration of war. No plausible way to fit this under the 2001 authorization for the use of military force. Yet it continues. It seems as if there are no people of principle or power left in the United States Congress. Our congresspeople are supposed to be the ones who rein in our power-mad presidents. It's Congress that's supposed to do the actual work of government. Once upon a time, that was true. And I don't mean 100 years ago. As recently as the 1980s, Congress still had the power to tell a president no. In 1979, the left-wing Sandinista government took power in Nicaragua. The Reagan administration decided that overthrowing this government was a priority. So they started funding an array of rebel groups that became collectively known as the Contras. Congress thought this was a really bad idea, so they stopped it. I tend to agree with Congress's decision here, but that's not really the point. The point is that as recently as 30 years ago, Congress had the power to slow down a foreign war it disagreed with. Let's compare these two situations. In Nicaragua, Reagan could plausibly defend the Contras as brave freedom fighters. We now know quite well that they were a bunch of murdering terrorists, but their supporters could deny it back then. The Contras were a diverse bunch of non-state actors, and any evil they committed could be denied or blamed on someone else. There's no denying what is being done to Yemen by Saudi Arabia, a powerful unitary state with U.S. support. Nicaragua was largely a covert operation. Congress actually had to tighten up its blocking of funds to the Contras multiple times. It was slippery and under the radar by design. The war in Yemen isn't even covert. The U.S. military is using large, expensive refueling planes to keep that war going. Most importantly, Nicaragua was part of a decades-long existential conflict. I'd argue that it wasn't a good way to fight the Cold War, but it fit the fears of the time. In the late 1940s, it really did look like the communists could take over the world. Rational people, and the U.S. public in general, thought that losing the Cold War was a real threat in the 1980s as well. The CIA's job was fighting communists, and most thought that that was what they were doing in Nicaragua. Yemen isn't in service to anything, really, other than arms sales and, I guess, murder? So to sum up, back in the 1980s in Nicaragua, the United States Congress was powerful enough to get the U.S. government out of a war that was easy to ignore, arguably on the side of the good guys, and in service to a decades-long fight for the existence of the United States and its way of life. That took a lot of courage, power, and principle. In 2017, in Yemen, the United States Congress can't get it together to stop a war that is evil, pointless, very, very public, and helpful to Al-Qaeda, the threat that we've supposedly been fighting for the past 15 years. Congress doesn't just need to end the war in Yemen because it's the right thing to do. Congress needs to end the war in Yemen to preserve its sense of self-respect. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And if you would like a free essay on a completely different topic, I'd suggest you sign up for my email newsletter. Thanks.